What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Grade A Show with my guy Musa today. What's going on, Brody?
What up, man? I'm doing good. No complaints, man. We got some summer league. We got some basketball today to watch, so I'm excited.
It is starting today. Who we got? Who we got?
Well, the main event everyone's going to want to see is Utah against Philly at 9 o'clock, I believe is the tip-off. VJ Edgecombe, 3rd overall pick versus Ace Bailey, the 5th overall pick. But I want to see Walter Clayton Jr. as well. So definitely excited. But I think it's a 3-game slate for today. So got some summer hoops, man.
Word. It kind of just hit us that fast. I feel like the draft was just like 2 weeks ago. Literally felt like yesterday, man. But everybody tuning in, make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate y'all being here for another episode with us today. And then we promised you. We made some posts out there saying that we was going to throw some shout outs and throw some recognition to the people out there. We do this all the time and we do this often. If you want, a little shout out and stuff like that, whatever you got going on, if it's a hobby, if it's a business, just shoot us a DM on Instagram, as you see down below, Grade A Show. If you're on TikTok, and we're now on Threads, going crazy on there. So just hit us up if you want your stuff promoted. We do a quick shout out, but we're going to start off. We're going to start off with Jizz Juice 3, Natural Juices and More. Follow him on Instagram and YouTube at Bryce the Juice Man. Check him out.
Juice Man, he never disappoints, man. I can definitely vouch for his product. I buy it all the time, so definitely cop some juices.
And that's the thing. We got somebody out here vouching for that. So definitely check him out, man. Definitely get tap in with him if you're into that stuff. Next up, of course, we got to promote my guy Musa.
Yes, sir. If you're looking for some gaming content, 2K soon for Call of Duty college football. It's coming out this week, a few more days. Definitely gonna jump on that. Me and Pace are gonna be doing some.
Oh yeah, we go
Dynasty. Might do some content for that as well. But stay tuned. Got a lot coming for you guys.
We going crazy.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we got at Monetary Mindset with an underscore, man. Follow him on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and now he is on Twitch. My apologies. Financial
Switch.
Financial literacy, man. Financial freedom. He's the credit guru. You need help with your credit. Make sure you tap in with him, man. Follow him on all those platforms. Me and Musa both worked with him on a couple things. Definitely somebody that we could trust. Definitely somebody we could vouch for. But definitely reach out to him if you need any assistance with that stuff.
Anything with credit,
taxes,
not so much debit. But I'm not gonna get too much into the debit side. I'm gonna let him do that when you reach out. you know. But definitely reach out to my guy, Monetary Mindset _
Yes, sir. Next, we got Bella Escapes. If you're into vlogging and everybody wants to see the little travel vlogs going out of the country and stuff like that, little food tours, going to different restaurants. She makes different meals from home, personal meals at home as well. Just show us some love, give that page some traction. Definitely follow and support that. We much appreciate it. Next up, we got Spotify at mil.szn. Tap in with him.
Yep. So yeah, if you're on Spotify looking for music, I assume this is for music. At mil.season. Check them out, man. Shout out to you for leaving a comment.
Yes, sir. Next up, we got another one on Spotify and YouTube, Last Starfighter. Also check him out, tap in. Seems like he's looking to collab and work with other artists and stuff like that. So definitely check him out.
And I'm gonna check these people out and follow their pages, support their businesses and whatever they got going on as well.
Absolutely. And next we got on Instagram, Cuts Royalty. If you're looking for a haircut in the metro area of Boston, Massachusetts, definitely tap in with him. He could pull up on you. I got my cut from him before. Musa, checks him out all the time and stuff like that. So
you see what a cut can do to somebody looking crazy. I know y'all seen them short to me last time we was up here. Now look at me. I'm just saying.
Definitely
check them out, man.
Well, yeah, definitely.
If you want to get shouted out, make sure you like it. Leave a comment down below in this video, your business, whatever you got going on whatever platforms, and we'll make sure we shout you guys out on the next episode. I will also do some shout outs tomorrow when we do the pick six podcasts. So I'll reiterate these same ones. And for those who comment on this episode or on our socials that you see listed below as well.
Yeah, definitely tap in, man. We like to show love and like to show support and stuff like that. So just hit us up, man. We have no problem with putting your content out there and just showing some love. But let's get into the show, man. As y'all see below the title, man, the NBA free agent reactions. We're gonna go over a couple of the moves as y'all been hearing all over social media, seeing breaking news, and things been going kind of crazy. So man, Musa, I don't know if there's so many stuff we got to go over, but if there was one just wild move that kind of just blew your mind, what would it be?
I would actually go with Miles Turner leaving Indiana to go to Milwaukee, especially considering the fact that they just went on a finals run. Obviously, Tyrese has the torn Achilles, so he's most likely going to miss this upcoming season. But considering that as they was playing throughout the finals and getting to the finals during the run, there was reports saying that Indiana was willing to go into the luxury tax. So hearing those reports, I take things with a grain of salt, obviously, when I look up these reports. But hearing all the rumblings about the front office willing to do that and to see it seems like they were in a disagreement with the contract that they was offering Miles Turner, to him go to their rival team who they bounced out of the playoff once, but 2 years in a row, it's kind of surprising. I was not expecting that.
My question is, how do you think this been in the works during the finals, or probably just happened like right after? Because this was quick. This was fast.
In the works as far as the contract talks, or just
probably contracts talks with Indiana.
I would say so. They knew this was a contract year and how important he was, considering that he's been in trade talks for the last couple years. He was the longest tenured pacer. So I believe they had conversations about this throughout the season. I think it probably was on pause once they started getting into the playoffs and getting into the run that they made. And I think probably the pushback, I'm assuming, again, I'm not 100% believe it could be true. I believe it was pushback with the contract, possibly with his play in the finals. He did not have a good finals, which is unfortunate because he had a really great playoff run. The 7 games out of the amount of games they played throughout the whole playoffs doesn't discount what he was able to do and contribute to that team, especially when it comes to shooting the ball. But it just stings more when you go to a rival team like the Bucks. And then the kind of pile on to that, Milwaukee had to cut bait with Dame just to get Miles Turner. So it makes it even more.
You think Miles Turner? You think Miles Turner accepted probably do you think he got different offers from different teams, or you think he just kind of went with why? I agree. Why go to Milwaukee?
I believe he probably got a couple offers from other teams. I'm pretty sure LA was definitely the Lakers, to be specific. Well, probably in talks because they've been rumors of trying to get him for years. So I'm assuming they was probably one of the teams, but ultimately I just think he got the most bang for his buck in Milwaukee, considering the amount of money he's getting. I think he's making probably 27 million a year. So, which I think is a fair amount for Miles Turner, considering what he brings to the table as far as him being able to stretch the floor as a rim protector. I would like for him to rebound a lot more, but for what he brings to the team, I believe it was a fair amount.
Don Core Issa.
Yes, sir. What up? Guy? Appreciate the comment, Don Core.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy. Miles Turner to the Bucks, rival team, and it seems like Milwaukee's trying to do everything in their power to keep Giannis secured there.
I don't know about that.
But then you waive Damian Lillard. Yeah, I understand. It's just crazy that they had to basically do that to get him off the books, to bring another talent in there, to not stir up everything with Giannis. But at the same time, you did, because I'm pretty sure everybody heard the report that Giannis was not too fond of this at all. Me personally, I think he's out of there after this season. Maybe he might finish out, because what is it, a 2-year deal he's on now?
I believe so. I think this is his last. I think he has a player option. if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check his contract situation. But as far as the Bucks go with the move, I thought it was a great move before they announced them cutting ties with Dame. And it seems like the Bucks just owe everybody money. I think they're still paying Mike Budenholzer from firing him. They're still paying Adrian Griffin. And now you're gonna have to pay Dame 22. Yeah, because they fired him last season too to get Doc. And then you're gonna have to pay out Damian Lillard the next 3 to 4 years, 22.5 million.
The Bucks, at least they got a championship out of this whole mess. At the end of the day, at least they got a championship. But the way that they're moving now is they're going to be in a decline. They're going to be in a decline in a couple of years. Yeah, once Giannis is out of there, that's it.
And I believe, we said this before in offline too. I'm gonna keep saying it until the end of time. They should have took Ryan Dunn last year in the draft. He would have definitely shored up the things that they need as far as a 3-and-D wing. And then you take AJ Johnson, which talent-wise is not bad. He's shown flashes at the end of the last season with the Wizards. If you'd have kept him on the roster now and didn't include him in that Chris Middleton deal with Kuzma, he could have been a young guard that's promising that can actually provide minutes. Although we know how Doc Rivers is with playing his bench, going too deep in his bench with the young guys. So that's one thing. At least that's the narrative behind Doc. As far as the Bucks though, with Miles Turner, it's definitely an improvement. I mean, he does everything Brook Lopez does, but he's much younger and more athletic. So, I mean, Brook Lopez is 36, 37 years old.
Yeah, he's getting up
as young as 35, I'll say. So you get someone that's, I don't think Miles is even in his 30s. If he is, he's probably no older than 31 at most. So you get someone much younger who provides similar assets that Brook does, and he's a lot younger who can space the floor. And you can kind of stagger the minutes with him and Giannis. And you could do a Bobby Portis and Miles Turner front court when you take Giannis out for breather. It's a solid pickup, but all this tells me now is Kyle Kuzma needs to have a phenomenal offseason because he needs to come into next season ready to contribute. He can't come back to Milwaukee playing how he played last year.
Yeah, I'm not too high.
I'm not putting my bets on that, but
yeah, I'm not too high on him. I mean, I hopefully for Milwaukee's sake that'll be beneficial. But let's give a grade for both teams. And everybody watching, man, leave a comment down below. What grade would you give for each team? We're gonna go through each team, each transaction. But for Indiana, what grade would you give them
for the trade? I'll give them. Well, it's not really a trade.
It wasn't really a trade. It was really a release.
The signing, I should say. I'll probably give them a B, a solid B, only because you do get better in your front court, which is what you needed. Now, Brook Lopez wasn't a rebounder either that we would like for his size. But damn it, Miles Turner got the rebound.
Brook Lopez went to the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna touch on that and that old team over there. But
I mean, me personally, I'm giving Indiana.
Indiana, it's.
I don't know how you don't give him an F. I mean, you didn't figure out a way to keep him, even though he had a bad finals. Again, you brought up a good point as far as the other series in the playoffs. The longest tenure pacer, wonderful chemistry with him and Siakam being on the floor, wonderful chemistry with him and Halliburton. I just don't understand how you don't figure it out. And I'm not saying you let Indiana let them go to Milwaukee, but look what you got to deal with now. He's still in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I will say to the finals in particular with the Pacers, they had better minutes when they had Obi Toppin and Pascal as the front court throughout that series. As I mentioned earlier, Miles struggled
and maybe that could be the case where they're trying to put Obi Toppin into that, or at least more minutes role. Maybe get us another big to pair with Siakam in a starting lineup, but use Obi off the bench more.
Well, that's definitely going to be more likely the case now, but also they're going to have Isaiah Jackson coming back from the torn Achilles.
Yeah.
He was a big loss in their front court. And then I believe someone else is James Wiseman also should be coming back. So you're going to have some type of size in that front court when they come back and play. But again, they're not going to give you the production Miles Turner gave you throughout the season and throughout the playoffs up until the finals. So Indiana is kind of like they're kind of like in a Boston situation, but I think they might be a little better off as far as the team because they all gel really well. They all move the ball. There is no one person that you can really key in and scheme against when it comes to Indiana because they move the ball so well. They play with a high pace, but they're definitely going to have to get another guard in there to kind of limit both of TJ and Andrew Nemhart's minutes. I think you're going to see a big season offensively from Andrew Nemhart due to Hallie being out. And Nemhart can play, and he can easily be one of the more elite two-way players in this league. Let me not say elite, but definitely more elite on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, his stature and his status is definitely going to prove.
He can definitely do well. And his brothers, I forgot what team his brother got signed to for the summer league, but Ryan Nemhart from also did not get drafted, but he's on a summer league roster. So shout out to him as well.
Let's get back to the Milwaukee side real quick before we move on to the other teams. Of course, we know that Damian Lillard got waived by the Bucks. There's reports out right now saying that the Celtics and the Lakers are like the closest teams to trying to make a deal to try to
in Golden State. He might go back home.
So we got those three major teams in the works right now to try to obtain Lillard. We don't have to really dissect on this until we get some clear-cut, concrete decisions that's made. But out of those three teams, where would you like him to be the most?
Between Golden State, Boston, and what was the last team?
The Lakers.
The Lake.
Everybody tuning in, man. Leave a comment down below.
I don't want him in LA.
Lead it through those three teams. Where you think Dame?
If I'm being honest, I would love. Now this is gonna be nasty, obviously, because
Boston bias. Everybody's gonna say
no. I'm glad you said that because I wasn't going with Boston. I was going with the Warriors. He goes back home. He's in the Bay. He's not gonna start the season, so I want to make sure everyone that's watching and everyone understands. Regardless of where Dame goes, whether he signs sooner or he signs during the season, he's not going to play until probably after All-Star break. Unless his rehab is going so great where he can actually get on the court faster. I don't see that being the case. I don't see them rushing him back, whichever team he signs with, and him and his team around him. So with that being said, he can go to Golden State, go back home. He's from the Bay Area, from Oakland. He always wanted to be closer to home. He didn't want to be in Milwaukee, to be honest, before the trade. So money's not really the biggest issue for him because he's going to get paid his $22.5 million throughout from Milwaukee. So he could sign a mid-level exemption or a veteran deal with any team and still have that money coming in on the back end. I think the Warriors would be a great thing to see. I mean, you have two of the best shooters arguably in this generation on the same team, given the way that play style fits with Draymond and everyone else. And I'm assuming they're probably going to move off Kuminga soon or do a sign-in trade. So you bring in more reliable assets. When that offense get on the heater with Dame and Steph,
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Sure,
it'll be nice, but I feel like it's gonna be a little bit of a clash when you have, of course we're gonna see Draymond, Dame Lillard, Steph on the court at the same time. At times, they're probably gonna most likely be a starting lineup if this was to happen. My thing is that, okay, how is this all going to correlate well?
As far as
Draymond's a facilitator, Stephen Curry is a facilitator, can be a facilitator, more of a shooter. Okay, he can play more off of the ball. We've seen that a little bit in the past couple of years, especially when Clay's been gone, him playing that 2 role, and then Damian Lillard being a pure scorer. I just feel like there's going to be some type of clash where it may not work as good as we may think.
Well, first of all, Dame actually is a really good facilitator. He actually had his assists went up throughout his stint with Milwaukee since he got there. He averaged 7 assists last year, and I think him playing with Giannis kind of helped him understand how to play more without the ball. And then going into a system like Golden State, hypothetically, if he signs there, he can play more off the ball even more. And he's probably going to get even easier looks because regardless of the fact the defense is going to scheme first against Steph and try to get Steph off the ball and make him work for it. And now you have another lethal shooter who can shoot just from deep and on the court with him. Now it opens up the offense even more. And it's going to and we've seen Steph be able to play with another superstar and not be selfish. Draymond's all about playing to win first, and you can stagger their minutes, them as in Steph and Dame so well, it kind of won't interfere with their offense. Now, obviously, the biggest question with them, if he was to go to Golden State, would be the defense. I think that would be the biggest question mark.
Let me ask you this, Jimmy. He's on a 2-year deal.
Yes. Oh, and I almost forgot about Jimmy Butler.
That's another thing. I don't know, but I think when if Dame was to come and play, I think that contract would have to be figured out with Jimmy. I believe it's a 2-year deal. Not too sure.
Well, so that's what I was saying. Dame's contract, Dame going to the Warriors, it would work because he doesn't have to sign a big deal. He can sign a mid-level exception or get the veterans deal, so it won't hinder anyone else's money.
And he is still getting that bag from Milwaukee, so I think he's gonna get.
Well, that's why I was saying, with that being the case, him wanting to play on a contender, I think it could work perfect sense. And again, I can't trust him if he wants to go back. He wants to be closer to home from what the reports were, given his personal situation, everything he's been dealing with. Going back home to Oakland in the Bay Area, who says no to that? And I know the Warriors that haven't re-signed Gary Payton Jr. yet either. And Steve Kerr loves playing small ball. So, and they did lose Kevon Looney, but they still got Tracy Jackson Davis. They got Quinn Post. So I think it'll be nice to see just from the shooting standpoint and how the offense will look. But I would like to hear, what would you think would be the best fit for him? It don't have to be those 3 teams: Boston, Golden State, Lakers. It could be another team as well.
To be honest, yeah, I'm going to go outside of that because Golden State, I'm 50-50. Boston, I just don't see the fact that you bring up the mid-level exception. Yeah, if they could make a deal like that, cool, but signing him to a big contract just doesn't make sense, given that you just try to get yourself out of that tax bracket with the whole apron thing going on. And then JT's out. Of course, we know Dame Lillard is going to be out and not play this season, but I just don't really see the point in Boston doing that. It'll be nice, but outside of that, I would like to see him in maybe like in Miami, if they're able to keep the Tyler Heroes and the Bams around.
Which they be able to. I think they're under contract. So
yeah, I think I'm at least a contention team. I'm not going to throw him anywhere where Dame Lillard doesn't have the opportunity to win. And another team I was thinking about low key was Denver, but I think with all the signings and stuff like that, I don't think it would be able to work unless it was, like you said, a mid-level exception.
So Denver actually, because real quick, I'm gonna touch on the Denver part, and then I want to ask you a question with the Miami pick. Real quick for Denver, for those who don't know, Jonas Valanciunas is teetering going back home and playing for his home national team, due to some other situations going on. So if Jonas Valanciunas ends up going back home and leaving Denver, Denver doesn't take a hit on that contract, and they still have money to free up to sign another player like a Dame Lillard. However, to the Denver point, if Jonas is going to be on the move, the next best option Denver is most likely going to try to go get, and I would not mind to see him there if he was to leave Boston. That's Al Horford. Al Horford in that Denver offense, or even a Golden State offense, will look phenomenal. So that's just the situation going on with Denver. As far as my question for you when it comes to Miami, Dame going to Miami, does that make them a contender? Because I think he wants to go to a contender team, and I just don't see Miami as one of those teams that can contend. I think they'll be in the mix for like the play-in spot and stuff. But when I look at that roster, I don't see contention right now. And that's no slouch, because I love me Eric Spoelstra and what he does for teams that people don't look as the most talented and the household names. But at the same time, I just don't see him doing much with that roster.
Yeah, to answer that question, I don't think it would be on Dame. I don't think it would be on Spoelstra. I don't think it would be on Bam. I think the key piece in that is going to be Tyler Hero. I think when Tyler Hero has another star talent next to him, he's kind of compressed. We see what Tyler Hero can do when he doesn't have a star guard next to him. I just don't think Tyler Hero is enough to bring Miami with another co-star and still do what he do past that threshold. So if Dame is there, I'll probably give him a little bit higher than a plan, maybe especially with the East, not even counting injuries because everybody coming back the following season after that. If that was to happen, I could see Miami back in contention, maybe a top 5 seed, top 6 seed right out of the plan. But I definitely think Tyler Hero is the key piece for that team. It's just kind of hard pairing him up with another co-star kind of playing like similar to how he already plays.
Yeah. But to that point too, just for those who might be new watching, even if Dame was to go to Miami, he's not going to be there to start the season. So, and for Tyler Hero, he played like an All-NBA caliber player last season. He had a phenomenal year for Miami. If Miami's going to be in sixth contention, they got to add another piece, a legit star piece. I know I like Andrew Wiggins there as a filler at the wing who can be a two-way. I love Davion Mitchell, Mr. Off Night. But someone's going to have to step up. I expect Kylo Ware to get better, their rookie center from this past season, who I was very high on and coming out the draft. But someone else going to have to really step up their scoring output is going to be Bam. Bam averaged 18 and 10 last year.
Yeah, you hit the nail on that.
Bam is so talented, and I just expected him to get more.
We just want more.
Yeah, exactly. And I expected more output on the offensive end from the scoring output. I'm not asking him to give me 25 because if Bam's giving you 25 and 10, Miami's going to be a top 5 team for sure.
But I agree. I'm kind of like getting to the point where I'm tired of seeing the same stuff. It's just like, all right, when is your game going to take that next step?
I might be at the point where I just accept this is who Bam is, and
that's okay.
He's one of the elite defenders in the league, guards 1 through 5. I feel like his ceiling scoring output potentially could probably be around 22, maybe 23 in 8 to 10, 8 and 9, maybe because he's a really good playmaker. So I can see that if he stays around the 18, 19 point range, I could see him up in his assists probably to like 5. He averages 4 now, so maybe like a 5.5 difference. So, but definitely Bam's going to have to be more of a contributor on the offensive end, whether that's scoring or just facilitating more, getting easier looks for Tyler or Kyle Ware, which I think will be a great backcourt because Bam can finally play his true position, which I believe is the 4.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Let's get to the rest of these NBA moves and transactions as far as what happened so far. We touched base a little bit on the Hawks last episode, but just to show, we could give each team just a grade on as far as just the moves that's done so far. So it looks like the Hawks, they obtained Nickeil Alexander-Walker from Minnesota on a 4-year deal. Luke Kennard, which I think was a huge piece. And, of course, we talked about last week with Kristaps Porzingis from Boston. Some key departures, Clint Capella to the Rockets, Karis LeVert. He went over to Detroit, Larry Nance Jr., Georges Niang, and Terrence Mann. Real quick, Musa, if you was to give this a grade, what you going to give it?
A.
The Hawks
hit it out the park with these moves. And that's coming from me giving them a lot of slander at the deadline last year for giving them DeAndre Hunter for Karis LeVert, who's a great player, but I knew his fit wasn't going to be consistent considering it's a log jam at the guard, how he plays. But now he's off their books, so now he was able to get Luke Kennard on a 1-year deal. You got Porzingis now. If Porzingis can stay healthy, you're looking at a starting 5 in the East that can contend with anybody in the East. And then you add Nickeil Alexander-Walker, one of the best POA defenders in the league. So now
they got about 3 perennial defenders on that wing.
So now you add 2 legit POA defenders around Trae Young and Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's going to bolster up the defense. Jalen Johnson, who if you've been watching the show, know I'm high on Jalen Johnson. I say he would have been an all-star if he didn't get hurt. He's going to come back. And then Zachary Shea shown tremendous flashes throughout the season, especially towards the end of the season. I expect him to get better and build more muscle into his frame. And like I said, with KP being, if he can stay healthy, the starting five of Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Ricochet, Jalen Johnson, Porzingis. Then you have Okongwu, Alexander Walker, Luke Kennard, and I'm forgetting a few other players on that bench. I like Atlanta's chances in the East.
This might be a hot take, but I think I'm rocking with the Hawks, and I'm giving them a solid A if I had to grade them too. But I think I'm going with the Hawks as a top 3 seed in the East next season, as they look right now.
Top 3. So you got
if
you
healthy,
got them,
if Porzingis is healthy and can stay healthy all season, and I'm hoping that they can manage him just like Boston did. He doesn't need to play every game. He doesn't need to play 30 plus minutes. If he can stay healthy, I got Hawks top 3.
Man, Porzingis in Atlanta, he about to be the next Dirk, if you know what I mean, off the court. If you know. If you know Dirk loves some sisters now. Porzingis about to be up there at Rum Punch.
Slade, not Slade's, freaking Magic City. Nah, we ain't gonna do that.
He ain't gonna be about the Magic City. He gonna stand up too much. But top 3. So you think before we get to Boston, you think Atlanta is gonna be better than? Not better. So you think Atlanta will be in the mix with the Knicks?
Mike Brown's going to the Knicks. Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. So I'm just gonna name some teams, the top teams in the East, and you can tell me if up, over, under. Knicks.
Slightly under. Slightly.
Cleveland.
I'm gonna go over. I think Cleveland just had a good year last year. I think they're gonna be there, but I'm not putting the gap between. I want to say the Knicks, the Cavs. It depends with Philly.
No, don't gloss over that.
I'm talking only a one.
Let me finish. Hold on, because you mentioned the team I was going to get to.
Go ahead.
Philly, over, under.
I'm going over.
Okay. Hey.
I think the Hawks are going to be over. I think every other team is going to be over.
The last team I have was Detroit.
Over. I think the Hawks is going to be a top 5 NBA, top 5 defense next season.
I don't think they're going to be better than Cleveland, though. I don't know. I might push back. The only team I'm pushing back on.
But that's
Cleveland.
That's where my third, like the top 3. Like, we're gonna talk about the Knicks or Cleveland. That's swappable 1-2, and then I'm rocking with the Hawks because it depends on how Philly comes out this season. It depends. They could be right there at that 3 seed too, and the Hawks right behind them. But I think a 3 seed is capable, definitely capable.
Okay.
Celtics. We touched on them a little bit last week.
Yeah, we will fly through this one.
Yeah. I guess if you wanted to give a grade as far as the transactions,
I'll give them a B. And my reason I'm giving Boston a high grade is more so on the business side of it more than the roster construction. I've been saying it all year. Even to the people talk about how the Knicks broke up Boston. No, Boston's going to break up regardless because of the new CBA rules, and they were way over the second apron and luxury tax. They were not going to be able to pay out all that millions of dollars, almost $500 million. They was not going to be able to do that. So the reason I'm giving them a B is he was able to get off Porzingis' contract. Perfect. He was able to get off Drew's contract, which I love Drew Holiday, but given his age, paying him almost north to closer to $40 million over the next 3-4 years, we just couldn't do that.
Yeah, that's a bag.
And you get Anthony Simons out of that deal, which much younger player can score, which you're going to need someone to score with Brown and Pritchard in the crew with Tatum being out. And he's on an expiring deal. So he comes off your books the next offseason. Then same thing with George Niang, which we got a part of the Porzingis deal. I don't like George Niang. I don't. He don't like Boston either. So we share similarities there. This is coming from someone that's not a biased Celtic fan. But you get George Niang, so now he's on the expiring deal. He can come off right off your books this next season also. Luke Garza, I was hiring him coming out of college, former AP Player of the Year. definitely improved his game since he got into the league. He was drafted by the Timberwolves, got in better shape. He's kind of like the Nas Reed in the sense of not his play style. So I want people to stay with me now. I'm not saying Luke Garza is Nas Reed. What I'm saying is they both came into the league and it was clearly not in shape, in the best shape they can be. They both transformed their body and got into phenomenal shape. That's what I mean. He could stretch the floor, which he improved on doing. Big body, helping the post. He could kind of fill that Luke Cornette role. I don't think he's the rim protector Cornette was, but he can definitely stretch the floor and shoot the ball much better than Luke. So that's a plus. And he's on this decent deal. And the Josh Minot signing from also Minnesota Wolf, I think it's going to be very slept on.
You think so?
Because if you watch his highlights and his tape, he's kind of a Jordan Walsh type in sense of the a 3-and-D wing, not so much the 3-part, but a lanky wing who can defend, great hands on defense, athletic. And this is someone we might be able to stash because I think he's only 22.
Yeah, he's pretty young.
So I think that could be a high risk, high risk kind of signing. So if he fills out, he can be a great piece off the bench consistently. So I think the moves is kind of to cater to the next offseason because if Simons and Niang do come off the books and we don't keep Simons, we're going to have enough money to where we can sign another piece to help Jalen and Jason moving forward and kind of reestablish this roster to be more of a legit contender for another Larry O'Brien. So I love the moves Brad Stevens made. I'm hearing a lot of rumors talk about, we should move Jaylen Brown. Knock it off. Get off that good shit. and just weather the storm. I think we're still gonna be a competitive team. Obviously, we're not gonna be the team we were the last few years as far as win-loss record goes. Because if this team wins 60 or 50, north of 50 games, Joe Mazzulla is a top 3 coach in the league. If he could do that with this roster, for sure. So no, I think we'll be in the middle of the pack. But yeah, this is moves to build into the next offseason. So I'll give Celtics a B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an A with the Celtics. I mean, just everything that you were saying in regards to just getting the books cleared and stuff like that. Planning for JT when he comes back after the next season is just the right thing to do. You still are able to get Anthony Simons in the deal, still to be able to get a 20 point guaranteed 20 point per game score, especially with JT being out now. He might. I could foresee 17 to 20 points, if not more. The more the merrier.
He might up his assist too.
Yeah,
pick and roll.
Yeah, I definitely give him a solid A. They had to do what they had to do. Definitely stand pat. It's going to be an off year, but I'm interested to see Jaylen Brown improve. Hopefully, he does improve. But I'm interested to see, and I don't want them moving off because I do think if the Celtics was to move off of one of them, it would be Brown first, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that he's able to stay healthy, improve his game, and kind of show the world that he could be a number one option. When the ball's in his hands, he's gotten a lot tougher. His decisions making has progressed tremendously since the last couple seasons. That left hand got better. I know we've been talking trash about that the last couple years.
Has it?
I mean, it's improved a lot from the Miami series. I'm not gonna say it's the best.
Nah, I'm trolling. Yeah, he's gotten a little better.
I give the Celtics an A. Let's get to Brooklyn. Everybody tapping in, man. We giving each team a grade off of the deals that were happening this recent free agency. Next, we're on the Brooklyn Nets. We got Day'Ron Sharpe, Zaire Williams, returns, additions. They got Terrence Mann and Michael Porter Jr. from Denver. Cam Johnson left to Denver in that move. D'Angelo Russell's gone, went to Dallas, and then Trendon Watford departs to Philadelphia. How you feel about this, Musa?
This won't be as long as the Boston one. I'm gonna give them a C. And that's me being generous. And that's more because of I'm high on Zaire Williams and Michael Porter Jr. outside of that, including their draft picks, I'm just kind of scratching my head on what is their direction in Brooklyn right now. Now I could be wrong. The draft picks, which was 5 in the first round, which they kept all 5, by the way. They could plan out. Igor Damon, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. It's going to be a really, really good playmaker for that team. But I like Danny Wolf from Michigan as well. But I don't know the direction they're really heading into. So that's why I'm giving them a C. Because they made a lot of questionable picks in the draft. And based on their additions, are they trying to compete? Or are they trying to stay in the middle of the pack? Are they trying to stay tanking for Darren Peterson from Kansas or AJ Diaspa? So I'm trying to figure out what's their solution. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Brooklyn.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. As far as the grade, I don't even know what type of grade I would give them, but it wouldn't be anything higher than a C. I don't even know if I don't think they deserve a D or a F. But I mean, you obtain Terrence Mann, a good wing defender, hustle player, Michael Porter Jr. Hopefully, this is an opportunity for him to expand his game a lot more out there in Brooklyn, especially not being around too many stars. But I do agree, Brooklyn looks a little bit discombobulated, and a lot of things are going on over there. I'm interested to see what happens with what's my guy over there, the guard?
Cam Thomas.
Yeah, just to see what happens with him moving forward.
Just more buckets.
Yeah, but it's just looking a little weird for Brooklyn. I agree. It's kind of like, where do we go from here? Like every season, it's like almost like these guys have a lot of opportunities. You got draft pick assets. You're not really making no crazy big moves. I do like the draft picks that they made, but it's not nothing to like stamp them in like a top 6 or like a plan for me right now. So let's get to the Hornets. They resigned Trey Mann. They obtained Pat Connaughton from the Milwaukee Bucks, Spencer Dinwiddie, Mason Plumlee, Colin Sexton. Departures, Yusuf Nurkic and Mark Williams. Another team I'm not going to really spend too much time on, but I'm kind of lost in what direction Charlotte is really going as well. I kind of feel like they're trying to figure out still how to put pieces around LaMelo Ball, but at the same time, it's kind of like they're realizing he gets hurt a lot. So it's like they're just picking pieces from, like, you obtain Colin Sexton, you got Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, like, what's going on? What are we doing? You lose 2 pivotal bigs.
Yusuf ain't that pivotal. And Mark was gonna be out of there regardless because they were supposed to move him during the deadline, and LA pulled some nonsense. But I mean, Mark was really good for them when he was healthy. The problem is he couldn't stay healthy. So I'll say that much. As far as Charlotte goes, now I was with you a lot initially. My same initial thoughts you just put out. Then I slept on it a few times, and I have faith in Charles Lee, the head coach. And I feel like they're trying to establish a culture there. If you look at the roster, the pieces they add, and some of the pieces that's already there, Pat Connaughton, a known champion, comes from an established culture. Plumlee is always known to be in good cultures. Dinwiddie comes from a good culture. Sykes is going to bring that intensity defensively, kind of like VJ Edgecombe, who they drafted, which I love him as a prospect. Still got Miles Bridges, who couldn't play, but he has been accustomed to winning. Same with LaMelo. And then Grant Williams, also, he came from Boston and knowing how to be in that type of culture. So I'm going to cause the pause. I think Charlotte might be cooking some. Now, the only problem is, obviously, as we mentioned, because I also got Trey Mann back, which I love Trey Mann. They probably got a lot of these guards. They're probably going to showcase a lot of these guards and try to use them as trade value at the deadline. So that's what I'm going to cause the pause, because I feel like they're going to – it's kind of what Houston did with the bigs once we get to Houston, with them getting Capella. They got all these bigs. Portland, same thing. They have all these guards. You're gonna need guards who can spread the floor, get the pace going. They might be onto something here, but I'm still gonna give them a C. But I'm kind of liking what the culture they're trying to build and seeing the vision that Charles Lee and that group is trying to do with Charlotte.
No, yeah. When you bring up that from that standpoint, I definitely do agree with that. But main thing I'm praying for is that LaMelo Ball can stay healthy. For those guys. Everybody tuning in, man. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel, man. We just reviewing all of the free agents moves that happened recently. Next, let's get to Chicago. They re-signed Trey Jones. One key addition was Isaac Okoro, and departure was Lonzo Ball. That was a swap out with them and the Cavs. I love it. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm giving Chicago an A.
My bad. I love it for Cleveland. I
like it for both sides, in my opinion. Isaac Okoro, I think, is a good. You still got Kobe White over there. I'm not too sure what's their direction with
the cultural player.
No, that big over there.
Nikola Vucevic.
Vucevic and stuff. I'm not really too sure what's their direction with them. But Isaac Okoro is another player, just like what I was saying about Michael Porter. He's able to go over to Chicago and get a little bit more burn, get a little bit more playing time, expand his wings a bit more, and just really be able to showcase what he could do as a player. Lonzo Ball, I'm happy for him. Like,
that's where I agree with you on. Yeah, Lonzo finally getting up out of there.
Donovan Mitchell, you still got Garland, like you got two nice bigs over there. You got a squad over there, and same thing for him. The same thing with his brother, man. I just hope he stays healthy. I know he's gonna flourish. I know he's gonna buy into the system over there. He's gonna play his role. I'm just happy for him. Definitely happy for him. For Cleveland, for both teams, I would give it an A.
Okay, so I don't know what you've been sipping. Probably that Taylor Port or some Zinfandel. But I'm damn sure not giving Chicago no A.
My thing is I'll give
them a C. I'll give them a C. C minus, C range. You re-signed Trey Jones, that's sure. Isaac Okoro, meh. He's meh. I mean, it's the reason why they brought in DeAndre Hunter at the deadline, and now they end up getting Lonzo. Because he's a good defender. The problem is he can't shoot consistently.
Yeah, he can't do a damn thing offensively.
Well, the thing that he's known for as a 3-and-D, he hasn't shot the ball consistently enough from the three. So that was kind of the hindrance there. So, and you have a boatload of people at those 2 and 3 positions. And then you losing Lonzo. I mean, it's a huge loss for Chicago, yes, but it's a blessing for Lonzo. You got Kobe White, you got Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, Matas Buzelis, Vooch, who I'm high on Buzelis. Patrick Williams is still there. They're going to be teetering around the playing like they have been the last few seasons. I'm kind of the same thing with Brooklyn. It's like, what is y'all direction? Like, are y'all trying to compete when y'all should be tanking? Because I think they should have been tanking a few seasons ago. So that way they could have been in position to get a Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe in this recent draft. So I'm kind of up in the air with them. As far as Cleveland, since we was already talking about it, I give them an A. Because you get Sam Merrill re-signed. You bring in Larry Nance, who's going to help shore up that front court. And he's probably not going to play a lot of minutes and a lot of games, but whenever you need a spot, Mobley or Allen some minutes, he can do that. He's not a veteran presence in that locker room. He's been in Cleveland, I think, before already, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you lose Ty Jerome, but that was going to be the case once you got Lonzo. And
I'm not even gonna lie to you. And this is another hot take. You could say what you want, but if Cleveland moves off of Garland and gets something else for him, whatever they get, draft assets, whatever, and Lonzo Ball stays healthy, I'm fine with that.
I don't know about that. Garland's one of the best playmakers at the guard position in the league. One of the better scorers in the league at the guard position. Yeah, one of the better finishers at the guard position. I think he's heavily.
I just like Lonzo Ball in that starting lineup sometimes. I'm just saying. Darius Garland
I'd
wants to
rather have
get
Garland.
hurt. He wants to get injured. That's all right. Go sit over
When
there.
you
Take care of
when
yourself.
when you compare the players, currently, it's a give or take. Like I would much rather have Garland's offense and playmaking, but I'd much rather have Lonzo's defense.
And that's the reason why I'm leaning
But
more towards Lonzo, because you got Mitchell right there next to him. But I get it.
but again, Garland keeps that offense afloat, especially when Mitchell's off the bench. He helps Mobley and Allen tremendously on the offensive end, and he keeps the pace going. And I think adding Lonzo, when you bring in Lonzo into the lineup and stagger him as in Mitchell and Garland's minutes together, it's going to keep the offensive pace and flow no matter what. I love what they did with bringing Lonzo over there. Yes, you lose Ty Jerome, but again, you kind of figured that was going to happen because you couldn't pay him and Sam Merle. You have to give one of the two. And considering that you lost him, you're going to bring in Lonzo. That's perfect. You lose Isaac Okoro, sure. That's unfortunate for the defensive side of the ball. But you still have DeAndre Hunter that you brought in during the deadline. And he had one of his best seasons this past season. And I think he's going to continue to do that for Cleveland. I expect Cleveland to be the number one team in the East again. And I expect them to be heavy favorites along with the Knicks to come out the East as of right now. We still have moves to be made, things that happen, the season to start. But as of right now, I expect Cleveland to be the heavy favorites to come out the East.
I'll tell you one thing: Jared Allen need to toughen the fuck up, but that's another topic for another time.
I think that team just needs to toughen up. I don't think it's just Jared Allen.
I agree. Let's get to Dallas, man. Dante Exum is returning on a 1-year deal. Kyrie Irving, of course, signs a 3-year extension with Dallas. They have obtained D'Angelo Russell for a 2-year deal, and Spencer Dinwiddie is gone to the Hornets. If I give him a grade,
B plus A minus range.
I was gonna say B minus for me, B plus. The fact that you was able to keep Kyrie there, Cooper Flag's coming in, 3-year extension. I mean, hey, you figured out a deal. Good job. Dante Exum.
He's a solid
depth. I feel like Dallas definitely, you got a replacement for Spencer Dinwiddie departing. D'Angelo Russell, I think, was a pretty solid pickup for them, and I think that Dallas is focused on depth and stuff like that. So they made the right moves to for a just in case. Not speaking this into the future, if Kyrie was to get hurt, they still got some to make things shake and stuff like that. So I'll give him like a B. I'll give him a solid B.
I would say I'm more on the A minus spectrum for Dallas, because when we seen what that lineup was last year with Gafford and Davis, I don't think Lively played when Davis got there because he was already out with the injury. But that defensive lineup is going to be something to deal with, especially with the front court, and then adding Kyrie. Now you add Cooper Flag, who's just as versatile as a defender. He can play off the ball, he can play with the ball, and everything like that. And then you add a scorer and facilitator like a D'Angelo Russell who can help weather the storm until Kyrie comes back. I'm really higher on this team than some people are. I think assuming health is obviously the big deal. They should be a top 4 team in the West. This is because of the defense alone. You still got Clay, Najee Marshall still there, PJ Washington off that bench. They're one of the most deepest teams in the West, and that is going to be something that, if this season hasn't shown you, you need depth. What up, Fernando?
Fernando, was good, my guy.
Joining the show as always. One of the main guys on the show whenever we go live. As I was saying, as you've seen in this past playoffs, depth matters a lot, and I think Dallas is one of the deeper teams in the league, more so in the West. So I'm very high on the moves that they made, and I think they can be a contender to come out the West.
Oh yeah, definitely agree. I mean, real quick, if you had to pick, what seeding you giving them? Early projection.
I said top 4.
Top 4. Yeah, I could agree. Top 4, top 5.
Fernando with another comment. The Mavericks versus the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals battle for Texas. I wouldn't be surprised, but OKC might have something to say for that, as well as the next team we're about to talk about, who I'm also very high on, and then
But
the move that they made.
if that was a series, if everybody's healthy, let's go. Let's
I don't
start
know.
with
I don't know how to call that one yet. I need.
let's if everybody's
I can't call that one right now.
that's
I can't
7 games. I don't even know. Both sides is crazy. I
I'm
think
off the top. I may lean Dallas. But
yeah,
again,
that's
it's tough.
hard.
It's
That's
tough to
hard.
call right now.
That's hard.
I just think Dallas has the better front court. Obviously, KD's gonna be part of that front court, but I'm looking at like the center, mostly the center position.
But then you got Amen Thompson. Fred VanVleet could play a little bit of defense, and he gets a little scrappy when he needs to.
Yeah, but I like Dallas's front
I
court.
could agree.
But as I said, it's tough to call right now. You can go either way. Houston, I said it here last during the first round. Houston beats Golden State. I had them winning in 7. I almost was right. But to Clips' point, when we talked about it, if they had a closer, they probably would have beaten Golden State. So
let's get to the Nuggets. Bruce Brown is back.
A+.
Cam Johnson trade. Tim Hardaway is there, and you spoke about Jonas Valanciunas earlier and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Porter is out. Dario Saric is.
Thank God Dario Saric is off that roster.
Yeah, I'm giving them. You bring back Bruce Brown. As soon as I seen that deal, I was like, man. Cam Johnson. I like him a lot more. Not a lot more, but I like him for that team. With the replacement of Michael Porter Jr. I think they did amazing with that. They picked the right player from Brooklyn in that deal to put in place for Michael.
The only
Porter.
player they should have been thinking about getting.
I agree. You bring in Tim Hardaway. Depth. They hit the nail on the head with that one. I give them a solid A too.
Yeah. When you look at what really, other than health, what really hurt Denver was their shooting in their depth. So now you bring another ball handler in Bruce Brown, who's already familiar with the system. You bring in Tim Hardaway Jr. with given the gravity that Jokic pulls on offense. If he's getting some of those looks that Payne Watson and Julius Strawher was getting throughout the playoffs, Russ is getting throughout the playoffs, he's more like he has a higher chance of hitting his open threes, which is going to help open up the offense even more for Denver. And then Jonas Valanciunas, if he stays, because I spoke about it earlier for those who just joined in, Valanciunas is looking like he might be moving back home and playing for his national team. I don't know the situation behind it, but obviously it's family reasons. So if he was to move off of Denver, it doesn't hurt Denver in their cap. I think they're actually under the first apron, which is phenomenal now. And if Valanciunas is to get off their books, the next target is Al Horford. And if they get Al Horford, it's the same big deal for them as Valanciunas being there, because now you have a big that can stagger the Jokic minutes, which we know whenever Jokic went to that bench, the team fell off a cliff. So, and Cam Johnson, he does everything that Porter does offensively. I don't think he's a better shooter than Porter, but he's a better defender, which is a plus. Now, I will say, though, losing Porter is going to sting a little bit because they don't have that tough shot maker. Michael Porter Jr., if you watch during the playoffs, not last year, even the championship run, just if you watch Denver at all play basketball, he's a really, really good tough shot maker. You can't really account for that. Look it up. Look at the clip. He's a very tough shot maker. Off the dribble, hand in the face, pull up shot. That's his thing.
Tough shot maker, I could agree with you, but consistency, I think he definitely
I'm not even looking at the numbers with the consistency. I'm just looking at just playing ball. Sometimes you need that person as a defense. You can't scheme against tough shot makers. Sometimes you can play the best defense and they can still make, because that's just that's their talent, and that's something that Cam Johnson is not really known for. He is. I think he's older than Michael Porter Jr. because he came out of college as more of the older upperclassmen. But all in all, he comes into a system that he can flourish in, and Jokic gets a bench and gets the help that he needs. I hope they re-sign Russ, which I don't think is going to be the case considering They have one more spot that they're looking to get Al Horford potentially, especially with Jonas being moved. But yeah, I love the moves that Denver was able to make.
Fernando's. I know I'm late, and you probably already discussed it, but Bucks move. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Just we ain't got to just a brief off of it, man. It's a crazy move. I know the Lakers, Warriors, and the Celtics are looking to try to make a move on Dame. And like we talked about earlier, man, the Bucks kind of did something, in my opinion, to keep Giannis in Milwaukee, try to keep him content. Clearly, as we heard, he's not too happy with it, not too fond with it. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think this is the first time in NBA history with a player with this big of a contract get waived by a team. So it's kind of wild. Let's get to Detroit. Paul Reed returns on a 2-year deal. They obtained Karis LeVert on a 2-year deal. Duncan Robinson finally gets up out of Miami, which I'm kind of I like them there, but Detroit definitely utilizing getting another shooter there is definitely going to be beneficial for them. And they lose Dennis Schroeder and Tim Hardaway,
and they lost Malik Beasley. But that's
yeah.
for another reason we won't talk about. And it's great because he was going to get the bag too.
Yeah.
But that's why they went got shooting for that reason.
I get Detroit like a C plus, I guess, a B minus. Karis LeVert is a good piece. Duncan Robinson is a good shooter off the bench. Definitely could just make some open threes, easy open threes and stuff like that. Karis LeVert, if he can stay healthy for Detroit, I think he'll be definitely beneficial for them. And losing Tim Hardaway and Dennis Schroeder, you kind of get that a little bit in a replacement. Dennis Schroeder ain't really provide them too much because of the explosion of Cade Cunningham. I mean, he did. True. He did, but the explosion of Cade
was phenomenal in Detroit. Yeah, what was surprising to his point. He was like, Detroit didn't want me as much as I wanted to stay. He was a key piece in that first round.
Yeah. For them. Yeah, I thought I feel like with Cam's explosion, and it's giving him all the credit, but I didn't think it really punched like I expected it to. It did, but it didn't really, because this is the first time we saw Detroit get to this stature in a long time. I would have loved to see Dennis still there for some time, but I just feel like the punch ain't hit like as good as it could have.
He closed out a couple of those games that they won in that New York series. Like, he was phenomenal going down the stretch of the regular season and into the playoffs. So that's what we kind of we had this agreement there. And he played very well alongside Cade, especially when they wanted to get Cade off the ball and stagger Cade's minutes. But ultimately, I believe his departure was more so because Jaden Ivey's going to be coming back, and they was expected to pay Malik Beasley until his situation. So even though with Malik having a situation, Ivey coming back, they're going to want to probably give Ivey more touches on the ball whenever they stagger him and Cade's minutes, because they're most likely going to start together in the backcourt. But now you add another ball handler in Karis LeVert. So I don't think they really looked at themselves needing to get or obtain Dennis Schroeder, which is unfortunate, because I think Dennis Schroeder can help a lot of teams come off their bench and provide a lot of spark off the bench for us playmaking or scoring or just being a pest on defense. And Duncan Robinson is going to just help space the floor with shooting. So overall, I'm not mad at this. I'll probably give them a B minus.
Everybody tuning in, man, leave a comment down below each team with these transactions or how you feel. Give them a grade. Give them a grade on how you feel based off the moves that they made. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get to Golden State. They didn't really do nothing at all. I know they're in the works of trying to figure out this whole Kuminga thing. Just be on the lookout to see what happens with him. But Kevin Looney departs, goes to the Pelicans. I mean, I don't really have anything to. I'm not going to give him a bad grade or a good grade.
The hell I am. I'm giving him an F. You ain't do nothing. And this is like, you need to max. This is what I was saying last year.
How's the books look with them? They got money to spend, or
not really. they got enough to get some pieces, but that's again why I was saying what I said about the whole Zach LaVine situation episodes back. But I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. But losing Looney is gonna be big as far as the rebounding goes. But again, they're trying to create a little bit more cap space to get some players. They have enough cap space to get an Al Horford or Dame Lillard on mid-level or veteran deals. And then also they're looking to bring more assets with the sign and trade potentially with Jonathan Kuminga, as I mentioned earlier in the show. But I'm gonna give him an F because I feel like they're wasting Curry's best, or not his best years, but his final years of his still being one of those elite guards in the league, and they need to maximize it. But I'm gonna trust the trio, including Kerr as the coach, of Butler, Curry, and Draymond to get it done and still make the playoffs. And then Pods was huge for them. I think he's going to take another step too. But as of now, yeah, F, because you got to help fill out this roster and make it a little bit better, especially going to be in the West because the West is loaded right now. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. Let's get to Houston, man. Another team I gave a solid A with all the moves that were made. Re-signed Steven Adams. Aaron Holiday's coming back. Jeff Green got Jabari Smith to a 5-year deal, which was phenomenal. Deshaun Tate, and you got Fred VanVleet to extend as well. You bring in Clint Capella, Kevin Durant, Dorian Finney-Smith. They lose Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, and Jock Landale. I think Houston basically set themselves up to make a finals run, and I think they'll be pretty damn close.
I believe they're the second best team in the West, arguably. I give them an A+. They went and got their closer. They got off of Jalen Green to do so. But with that being said, you still was able to keep all your other key young talent, like a Jabari Smith, a Men Thompson, Şengün, Cam Whitmore.
They are looking crazy.
And Cam Whitmore might potentially be on the move, but even still, you still have him on your roster. Reed Shepherd, who I think might get more playing time, and he could definitely help this team with his shooting. And Jeff Green and Kevin Durant reunited. So no, I love everything they did with their roster, and they add Clint Capella, which is a head scratcher. But I mean, to what I said earlier in the show, he can be used as another trade piece potentially, and he might be good whenever if Adams gets hurt or Şengün, you have another big that can rebound and rim protect, and there's a lob threat. So, and then Finney-Smith is just another great piece, 3-and-D guy. So yeah, I give them an A+. I think they're the second best team in the West. Definitely one of the top 5 teams for sure in the whole association. And this fully makes me bolster my point last year when I said they would be a top 5 team in the West. People looked at me like I was crazy because I was crazy. They was actually second. No, they was third in the West. So yeah,
I was one of those people. But we on a new season, man. We ain't gonna keep throwing that out there.
I ain't want to say no names.
Whole new team, whole new roster. But yeah, A+ for Houston.
Oh, I'll tell you this for my dog Lou. If you think Jalen Green gonna be a top 10 player or what position, whatever it was, this might be the season for that to happen since he's in Phoenix now. So I think this could be one of those breakout seasons potentially. So.
Let's get to Indiana. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I give them a 0. They don't even get a grade from me.
Incomplete.
Because they wasn't able to figure it out. I really don't have much. We talked on this earlier. I don't really have much to say. But
same thing with the Warriors. I mean, I give them an F, but that F is more so. I give them a D-, and it's more so because of they losing Miles Turner and they haven't added anything back yet. And given how depleted the roster is as far as the big position now because of the injuries, you still have Thomas Bryant, I believe, on their books, and then you lose Tyrese. So right now they're non-applicable as you see. But more so.
Let's get to the Clippers. Nick Batum was able to get re-signed with them. James Harden on a 2-year deal, which I'm happy for him. Brook Lopez they bring in from Milwaukee. I'm on a 2-year deal, and Drew Eubanks got waived. Um,
I give him a B minus.
I,
This team old as hell.
yeah, I give him a solid like C plus for me. At least you get to bring in, Brook Lopez, somebody that could stretch the floor a bit. I think him and James Harden kind of like that'll be kind of nice to see. I'm not gonna lie. Just seeing Brook Lopez come off that pick and roll and go to that deep hash three and just be pulling that shit is gonna actually look pretty good.
He could also still be a lob threat in a
Yeah,
sense.
definitely. And
Yeah.
Nick Batum coming back was a good piece. Him still at his age, he's still a pretty good,
A reliable
um,
piece.
yeah, pretty good 3-and-D player for sure. So I give him like a C plus.
I gave him a B just because they finally got some depth at the center. They finally gave Zubac a backup big, which is huge because I was one of those teams that was not high on the Clippers last year, and they still came out and was one of the top 5 team in the West. And I expect probably around that same hovering between 4 and 6 this season, given that they're going to manage Kawhi so he's healthy for the playoffs. Norman Powell, James Harden, Zubac. Now you add Brook Lopez. I believe they can definitely still be around where they were this season. So I give them a B. I'm not gonna sleep on them this time.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get to these Lakers. They re-signed Jackson Hayes to a 1-year deal. They added DeAndre Ayton on a 2-year deal, Jake LaRaria on a two-year deal, and Dorian Finney-Smith is gone.
Oh, Jackson Hayes has a no trade clause.
Yeah, I don't understand what the F on a 1-year deal. I don't know. I'm gonna give them a D. I mean, I like DeAndre Ayton signing with the Lakers, but DeAndre Ayton isn't who DeAndre Ayton was. Jackson Hayes, I mean,
He'll be their backup big.
Jake LaRavia.
I like Jake.
I honestly don't know who that is.
And that's why you got your brother here because your brother be watching hoops. And now he came from Memphis. He's a very young player. I think he's like 21, 22 years old. Oh, I put that comment up there. He said if Harden and Leonard can stay healthy, they'll be a scary team, which I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
He also the Lakers. He's giving them a C grade, which is right where I'm at because they still need to fill out some pieces. And I love them getting DeAndre Ayton. I think he's the perfect fit for what they need at that 5 position, especially a starting 5 position. He's still a starting center in this league, I believe. He's money in the mid range for when it comes to the big. It's just the motor is not there. That's the only issue with him is the motor.
Exactly.
But
I agree.
I believe him being with LeBron and him being with Luka more so because of the pick and roll and the lofter that he is with Luka. And he's on a contract. Oh no, he's a 2-year deal. I believe he's gonna have a really, really great year. I can see him kind of putting up BAM numbers. And what I mean by BAM numbers, I'm talking about the actual numbers, not the impact. But around like 18 and 9, I can see him doing that. He's not going to give you the 4 assists that Bam gives you. They're not near the playmaker. But I can see him averaging around that 18 and 9 range, maybe 17 and 8.
I mean, I would expect him to. He's the piece. He's the paint. He's the protector. He's gonna be on that floor.
But
like you said, that motor. I don't.
We'll see. And which to that last one you just mentioned about the motor, that's probably why people's not as high on him because you expect him to give you 18 to 20 and 10 and 11, but you're really not going to get that.
Maybe he might get that mojo playing with LeBron James and
I believe him being in LA. Him having some people because last year he averaged 14 and 10 with 2 assists on 57 from the field, 67% from the free throw line. So when I add him to a team like the Lakers, I automatically could see his rebound might even go up. He might go from 10 to maybe 12. And I expect him from going from 14 to maybe 17, 18. But just off lobs and running the floor. Him and LeBron and Luka's going to find ways to give him easy buckets. And like I said, JJ Redick can use him at times to play through him at times because he can shoot the mid-range. He has great touch at the mid-range and end. It's just The biggest question is the motor. If the motor's there, you're going to get a lot of production consistently from him if he can be consistent, because we're not going to act like he's not a former number one pick. And we've seen what he can do when the motor's there. So that's why I gave him a C, because I think there's room to grow with this roster.
Definitely. Let's get to Memphis. Santi Aldama returns on a 3-year deal. Jaren Jackson got a 5-year extension. Yeah. Damn. Cam Spencer returns on a 2-year deal. They added Cole Anthony in that deal with for Desmond Bain. Contavio Caldwell Pope was a part of that deal as well. And then Ty Jerome agrees to a 3-year deal. They lose Desmond Bain and Luke Kennard. I like Cole Anthony. I like Ty Jerome. Caldwell Pope can be a nice threshold off the bench. Not putting too much. You think so?
Who's going to be starting at the 2? Jalen Wells. I don't think Jalen Wells is going to be back.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just not putting too much stock into KCP, but
he had a down year for sure.
Yeah,
but I think he has a better year this season.
I give Memphis like a C plus. I'm not going to go B. Cole Anthony, I think is pretty solid. The backup jaw. Ty Jerome was a good move. I give him a solid C plus. If I was to go further than that, a B minus.
So I'm with you. I'll give him like a C or C plus, only because I believe their offseason moves are not done yet. Because there's been rumored that they're probably looking to find someone as a trade partner for Cole Anthony. They might even buy him out, which I wouldn't do. I'd rather try to get some assets for him. Especially because you gave Ty Jerome that 3-year deal. He's going to be your 6 man off the bench. Santi Aldama's going to be a good piece. Jaren Jackson is going to be I think he should be expected to still play by the start of the season with that toe turf injury. But nonetheless, you still get another 3-and-D guy. He had a down year, but I expect him to be a lot better in Memphis. He's going to be more motivated, considering that he wanted to stay in Orlando. And you just talk about them trying to win a chip, and then he gets traded, I think, the next day or next week. So Caldwell Pope is going to bring some of that culture back that they really, really need, because that's one thing that's been lacking since they got rid of Dillon Brooks. They don't have no culture, no identity. I think Caldwell Pope can help bring that and reestablish that. And if they do keep Cole Anthony, I think he'd be a great piece off the bench as well. If you are rotating Ty Jerome in the lineup or Cole Anthony, I think he can help you, give you some spark off the bench. So I like what they did. I expect them to make some more moves. So right now, I'll give them a C or C plus for sure.
That's fair, definitely. Let's go to Miami Heat.
We kind of touched on them already.
Yeah, Duncan Robinson is gone. Davion Mitchell kind of returns.
Montecchio, that's a solid. That's a decent pickup.
Yeah. Real quick, if he was to give him a grade,
C minus.
Yeah, I mean
C minus C.
Ain't really nothing going on here. Let's get to Milwaukee. And we talked about them a little bit earlier as well, but just to look over the re-signs: Kevin Porter Jr. on a 2-year, Bobby Portis on a 3, Taurean Prince, Jericho Sims, and Gary Trent Jr. all on 2-year deals. Not going to try to pronounce this name. Vasilij Mikic, Miles Turner, and we also got Gary Harris.
The Garys.
And Pat Connaughton is gone. Dame Lillard obviously got waived. Connaughton. Dame Lillard obviously got waived, and Brook Lopez is off to the Clippers.
A C.
Yeah, I'm going midway with them too.
A C plus. I like them keeping Gary Trent because he showed up big for them in a few of those games, despite how the last game ended. But he showed up big. I guess you keep Jericho Sims. I mean, sure. Taurean Prince is going to be good for them. Bobby Porter seems like he's just never going to leave Milwaukee, so that's a plus. I'm surprised that Kevin Porter Jr. came back to Milwaukee. I thought he was going to try to find another team. Probably didn't like the fit in some other places if they offered him contracts, so he came back. Especially with Dame being out, I think he's probably going to be their starting guard, which is not bad. It kind of gives him a chance to kind of reestablish himself. Because if he have a big year, they can definitely do something with this team as far as being in playoff contention. I think they'll be a playoff team regardless because they have Giannis. Um, Miles Turner, as we already talked about, going to be really helpful. Gary Harris is another 3-and-D guy that can help, something that they really needed. I don't know what Doc Rivers is going to do with this roster as far as like rotations go.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Seems they got a lot going on.
yeah, it's a decent roster. But when you have Giannis and Turner, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
But again, it's all up to really the others, like the Kyle Kuzmas, the Porter Juniors of the world, to step up. And yeah, I'll give them a C.
No, I definitely agree. Um, Minnesota Timberwolves, Joe Ingles returns. Julius Randle, I'm happy for him getting an extension on a 3-year deal. Same thing with Nas Reed. He finally got paid. They lose Nickeil Alexander Walker,
That's huge.
Luke Garza to the Celtics, and also Josh Minot to the Celtics. Um,
I give them a B.
yeah, just because they was able to just re-sign those two specifically, Julius Randle and Nas Reed. They're looking into the future, looking to continue to keep everything that's in sync around Anthony Edwards. Nickeil Alexander Walker. I mean, you know, he was a pivotal piece for Minnesota. I am happy in the team that he's at now. But you know, I think Minnesota will be fine. I give them about a B, solid B.
I gave them a B for the same reasons you brought up, particularly because they was able to re-sign Randall and Nas Reed. They was going to go over the luxury, the second apron, I believe, or go into luxury house regardless. So with that being said, for this is their moves is, again, similar to Boston. It was on the business side of it. They did not have the money to keep all three, Randall, Reed, and Nickeil Alexander Walker. They damn sure wasn't going to be able to bring back Walker and Nas Reed, especially if they was going to keep Randall. So one of the two had to go. One of the three was going to have to go. I'm sorry. And they went with the route of losing one of the best POA defenders to keep the front court intact, which is not a bad move considering you have Terrence Shannon Jr., who I'm high on, who can get some minutes. You still have DiVincenzo. I like Rob Dillingham. And I'm forgetting the other guard that got some minutes against Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the Western Conference Finals. He played him really well in the regular season, which is why he got minutes. I can't remember his name, but he might get some more PT. So when you look at it that way, I'm not mad at the move, and I give him a B plus.
Let's get to the New Orleans Pelicans addition: Sadiq Bey, Kevin Looney, Jordan Poole, departures: Bruce Brown, C.J. McCollum, Kelly Olynyk. This is another one of these teams. For me, I don't really know. You know, there's a lot with that organization. Zion's in and out sometimes. They still have DeJounte Murray there. We'll see how that continues to pan out. I do like the tandem a bit with Jordan Poole and Murray, but again, I don't have as much stock and as faith in the New Orleans Pelicans organization. Um, but if I was to give them a grade, I would say, you know, you get Kevin Looney, you get Bay, you get a nice wing defender. He could shoot the corner threes pretty well. He's pretty experienced in the league. I would go a solid like C minus, C.
I'll give them a C plus or C, more so C, because I like some of the names they have. I just don't understand their fit as far as what they're looking to do as in the rotation and as identity. Kevon is going to be huge for them because they definitely needed a big that can rebound. He's undersized though. Still, they still have undersized at the 4 and the 5 positions. But I'm looking at their draft picks also. I love Jeremiah Fears. And that's going to be a tough name, jersey number. 0 Fears. Like, that's going to be fire. But anyway, I think he's going to be a really good guard for them off the bench as a rookie if he gets the playing time. I love Derek Queen from Maryland. I don't love him being in New Orleans as a fit, but if they make it work, it'll be really good production for him off the bench as well. Jordan Poole should have a resurgence year, especially because I don't think Murray's going to be back in time to start the season. So I expect him and Murray to be a pretty good backcourt once they can gel, along with Zion, Trey Murphy, and you still have Herb Jones. So I give them a C because I don't think they're going to be a really good defense. This team is defensively going to be hard to watch. as an overall team, I believe. But yeah, and the reason why I gave him a C is you traded 10 spots up in the draft and gave him one of your most
Yeah,
biggest draft picks
yeah, good
next
point.
season that's unprotected. That pick can legit be AJ Diaspora Peterson, Deron Peterson, and you gave it away just to move up 10 spots. So when you add that into the fold, I'll give him a solid C, and that's being nice. So
Yeah. Let's get to the Knicks. Really didn't make. I like
I give him a
Yabusele.
B. I
I
give him
like Jordan Clarkson.
I give him a
I
solid B.
yeah, I give them a. They didn't lose anything. Their team's still intact. They just added to that team. I mean, I don't see why we don't give them at least a B plus, a minus. I
I'm cool
mean,
with an A minus for sure. And I love the Mike Brown signing as the head coach.
yeah, I
I
mean,
think it's the same identity though. Sorta, as far as defensively when it comes to what him and Thibodeau does. But offensively, I think it's gonna be a little bit better. Especially if you've seen what he was able to do with that Sacramento team on the offensive side of the ball with the pace. I think that's gonna help. But he's gonna hold these players accountable. Karl Anthony Towns, you're gonna get held accountable on defense. So just be ready. You fuck up, excuse my language. Mike Brown's gonna be on is going to let you know about it. If you don't know, look at the clips. He don't care who you are. He held Kobe accountable. He benched Kobe for a few possessions when he was in LA. We all know he talked to LeBron a few times in that Cleveland stint. So I bring those guys up because no matter who you are and what you are and role on that team, you're gonna get held accountable when you miss assignments, especially when it comes to defense, because he is a defensive guy. Even though Sacramento wasn't the best defense when he was there, but give or take, the offense is one of his best offenses during his stint. So I think the Knicks is going to be one of the heavy favorites to come out the East, just like Cleveland.
yeah, I'm just happy that they just added depth, which they needed. Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele is you got a guard, and you got pretty much another scrappy big. Um, pretty good, solid A minus. OKC, they just re-signed Shea, AJ Mitchell, and Jalen Williams. Only person to leave was Dylan Jones. To keep that team intact. Pretty much looking to run it back another year. I don't see how we don't give them an A. I mean, I don't know. You can't give them anything lower. They didn't do anything wrong, anything bad, in my
I give
opinion.
them an
But
A plus.
yeah, they
Keep
did
that
what they
team
were
intact,
supposed to do. So
and you get Thomas Sober. So I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. If I mispronounce it, my apologies. But the big man out of Georgetown, he's coming off a foot injury, which is fine because they're gonna just sit him like they did Topic from the last draft, who was supposed to be a top 5 prospect and pick, who's going to be playing, I believe, in the summer league this summer. So you bring him into the fold now, who's a 6'6" guard playmaker, and then you're going to basically have Thomas, who you just drafted, play the role he played last year, which is sit out the whole year, and then everyone else that's young, getting better, was all under contract, and a lot of them was under rookie deals still. So yeah, A plus for the Sam Presti and that crew continues to just do amazing things with how you run an organization.
the Orlando Magic, they re-signed Mo Wagner.
Who also has a no trade clause.
These 1 year deals on no trade clause, huh? Desmond Bain, we talked about that last episode a little bit earlier too, and Tyus Jones are now the additions. The departures: Cole Anthony, Contavious Pope, Gary Harris. I don't really have much more to say on this, but if I was to give them a grade, definitely would give them like a B plus.
I agree.
You bring in Desmond Bain, and you also bring in Tyus Jones. It was a perfect bench piece for that team. You bring another scorer to put around Paulo with Desmond Bain and Franz. Mo Wagner's back. Their team is will be there. Maybe 6th seed, 5th seed. We'll see. You think higher?
Hell yeah! Look at the East.
Well, okay.
I think if they're healthy, I think they're going to be a top 5. At least get home court advantage. Maybe top 4 team in the East.
Yeah, that's why I think it still depends on what Philly comes out and looks like this year. I think that's kind of going to make or break those teams like the Orlandos.
I'm a lot higher on Orlando than I am Philly.
Yeah, I could agree
as of right now. So
I could agree.
But to add on to your point, yeah, I give them a B plus. I agree. They were dead last in shooting the 3-pointer and 3-point percentage. You bring in Desmond Bain, who's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. So that helps a lot. He could play off of Paulo and Franz very, very well. Then Tyus Jones, the ultimate consummate true point guard, whether he starts or off the bench. He's going to give Paulo, Franz, and even the bigs like Mo and Wendell easy looks and Goga, easy looks. And his assist turnover ratio is really, really good for one of the guards that come off the bench and starts. So you're gonna bring in a guard who can help give everyone else easy looks, can knock down the three, and he's not gonna turn the ball over. So that's a great plus for them. Especially, I think he's their best true point guard on that roster. I think Suggs is more like a 3-and-D kind of guy, and then Anthony Black. So I give him a B plus for sure. And they definitely got an A plus for them jerseys.
Let's get to the Philadelphia 76ers. They re-signed Justin Edwards, Eric Gordon. They added Trendon Watford, and departure was Gershon Yabusele. Take away the draft, take away all that stuff. I don't.
I give him a C.
Yeah,
I think Justin Edwards can be a very, very big bright spot for them. He's really, really good. He fell out of the draft last year because of his play at Kentucky, but he was consensus all player coming out of high school, one of the top players coming out of high school. I'm sorry, and he was supposed to be a lottery pick. He just didn't have the best year at Kentucky, but he can really play. So I think that might be a good stash pick for Philly to re-sign him.
Yeah, if I was to give him a grade, it'd be about a C. As well with that, let's get to Phoenix. Phoenix re-signed Colin Gillespie.
Mm-hmm.
A 1-year deal. They added Dylan Brooks in that Kevin Durant deal, Jalen Green, Nigel Hayes-Davis, Mark Williams. He's not going there anymore, is he still?
No, he's in Phoenix.
He's in Phoenix. Okay. Departures: Kevin Durant, Tyus Jones, Cody Martin, Vasily Mičić, and Mason Plumlee.
I actually like their roster. I'm probably gonna give them a solid B or B minus if you want. But Nigel Harris,
I like it. I'll let you more so dissect it. I'm just trying to foresee all of this around Devin Booker and see how it kind of works. I like you still get Dylan Brooks, cool. Jalen Green, amazing. Mark Williams, nice big, just like we talked about earlier. If he could stay, healthy, stay in shape, cool. I just want to see all this and how it kind of gels around Devin Booker.
Yeah. So I'm giving them a B plus. And the reason being is because I'm including what they did in the draft. They had one of the best drafts. You get Kamal Maluwatch out of Duke, 7'2" center who can stretch the floor, elite rim protector. He's going to be a great lob threat. Then you trade for Mark Williams. Perfect. You still have Nick Richards, I believe, on your books, but they're looking for trade partners for him. You get Jalen Green in that KD trade, which I think he's going to do pretty solid or good with the Devin Booker pairing. You got Dylan Brooks, another 3-and-D guy, a culture guy. He's going to help establish that role on the wings, as well as with Ryan Dunn, who I expect to get better. You still have Grayson Allen and Nigel Hayes-Davis. People are not talking too much about. He used to play on that. He was on that Wisconsin team with Frank Kaminsky when they went to the Natty game when they beat Kentucky. He was one of the key pieces on the team. Played overseas. I think he won a EuroLeague MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Played for Barcelona. So he's coming over. I think he's going to be able to help them. But I'm going to call the pause on him only because I don't know the role he's going to play for that team. But, yeah, I love everything that they did. They was able to restructure this roster, do a whole 180. The only big question is what you do with Bradley Beal. Are you going to buy him out? Because there's been reports that they might buy him out. And you can't trade him because you have the no trade clause. So that's the only lingering thing hovering over this roster. But all in all, I think they got a solid roster.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Bradley Beal part. Portland Trailblazers, they re-signed Garrett Temple. They added Drew Holiday. Looks like he's going to be staying there. Lose DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons. If I was to give him a quick grade, I'd give him, C plus. B minus.
Yeah, I'll give him a C. But I won't spend too much time on it. I was going to shout these two guys out who I think is going to be really elite for them. Which I said it to you when we got the trade for Simons. I wish we'd got Tumani Kamara.
Yeah.
If
I wasn't hip to him until last season, and yeah, he's pretty good.
If for those who are some hoopers, if you love defense, please go watch his tape. Just watch how he plays defense. One of the better wing defenders in the league. I think Portland's cooking with something because you add him with Donovan Klinging as a rim protector. They might have one of the better defensive younger.
Did he make an all team?
Probably rookie Klinging, maybe. But you talking about Kamara?
Yeah,
Tumani, yeah. He was he made all NBA defense.
Second team.
Yeah, second team.
Second team.
I will say they have one of the better younger defensive front courts in the league for the future to come. So yeah, shout out to those guys.
Let's get to Sacramento. Additions: Dennis Schroeder, Dario Saric. They lose Jake LaRaria and Jonas Valanciunas.
I'll just give him a C minus. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this.
Yeah, same here. I mean, Dennis Schroeder's like a plug and play guy. Anywhere he goes, he pretty much kind of flourishes pretty good, pretty well.
He might start at the point guard position too.
That I could, I could foresee that happening. San Antonio, Luke Cornett agrees to a 4-year deal, and they lose Sandro. I'm not pronouncing that last name.
I'm giving him an A.
Yeah, Luke Cornett. Yeah, that too. But aside from that, for me, I'll still give him an A with that sign off of Luke Cornett. To have somebody
where the dog's at,
to have somebody else. He really expanded his game with the Celtics. Him moving on to San Antonio is going to be perfect. Him backing up Wemby's going to be perfect. Him playing alongside Wemby is going to be perfect. Wemby could be able to stretch that floor more. You have Luke Cornett down low at times. I think it's going to be solid A. Solid A.
Yeah, I gave him an A because I think Cornett's a solid pickup. And again, to have Carter Bryant and Dylan Harper, it's almost as if the draft they had this year is what I was looking for them to try to do last year when I said they should get Stephon Castle and Dalton Connect. But now you pretty much got your Stephon Castle. He's not Stephon Castle, but I'm saying as far as the big guard, you got that again this draft, and then you get the 3-and-D guy in Carter Bryant. So yeah, A+ for the Spurs.
Then we got the Toronto Raptors. They re-signed Jacob Patel, and they also add Poto, and they also add Sandro, whatever his last name is.
I give them a B-.
Yeah, I can't really evaluate this one.
But I will say getting rid of Usai Ujiri was a head scratcher to me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I will say I believe Toronto's going to be a playoff team next year. I think their ceiling probably a 5th. I think they're still, if they're healthy, I think they're still as a 5th seed. So that's right outside the play-in. But I think they're gonna be a team to deal with in the East. I mean, you got Quickly back on the deal. You got RJ Barrett, which I heard rumors that they're looking to maybe move him potentially. I hope not.
I hope, yeah.
But you got Scotty Barnes. You re-signed Jakob Poeltl. I love Jacob Walter off the bench. And you still have Brandon Ingram that you traded for. So I love their team as far as what they're trying to build over there in Toronto. I give them a B-.
You think they're going to be a playoff team, not a playing team?
Either or. Okay. That's what I said. They will, because if you get out the plane, you're a playoff team. So, but that's what I said. Their ceiling, I believe, can be as high as the 5th seed. So that means they will be right outside of the plane. But that's their ceiling. If they make it into the plane, that's still right where I think they will be around.
That's fair. Let's get to Utah. They add Yusuf Nurkic. They lose Johnny Juzang, Colin Sexton, and Jordan Clarkson. They still have Kelly Olynyk is gone, but Walker Kessler is there. Not putting stock into Yusuf Nurkic too much.
He'll be that big off the bench for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I give him a C-. I wouldn't give him a failing grade for it. Colin Sexton. It was about time, especially with even though Ace Bailey is wing player. You
Walter
kind of
Payton, Walter Clayton. I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, you got Walter Clayton coming in, and you also have
You got
Keontae
Keontae
George
George. Mm-hmm.
over there and stuff like
And you
that.
got Isaiah Collier, who had a great second half of the season.
You're just giving these other guys opportunities to spread their wings a bit more. So
yeah, they got Kyle Filipowski, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, also from last year's draft. I'll give him a C plus, because Danny Ainge said, "I don't give a damn if you didn't work out for us. We're taking you, Ace Bailey, and you're gonna bring your ass here, and you're gonna play for this team." So I give him a C because of their draft picks and everything. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. Fernando agrees with us.
yes, sir. And last but not least, we got the Washington Wizards. They added C.J. McCollum, Dylan Jones, Kelly Olynyk is back in Washington. Departures of Sadiq Bey, Anthony Gill, and Jordan Poole.
I'll give them, including their draft pick, because I love Trey Johnson out of Texas. I'll probably give him a C plus. I believe I said this in the private chat. I think in the next couple of years they'll be a legit fifth playing. I guess because the playing 6 seed now. They'll be one of those teams hovering in the play-in for sure. I like what they're building over there in Washington, and they're gonna have over $112 million in cap space free for next offseason because McCollum, Smart, and who I'm forgetting who's the third person. CJ McCollum, Marcus Smart, and Chris Middleton. They're all on expiring deals. So with those come off the books potentially, with that young group, that's why I had the stance I have where I think they'll be a playoff or a team to contend in the East in the next couple of seasons, assuming that the young talent develops.
That's going to wrap up today's show. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Just make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel. If you want what you got going on, promote it. We do shouts out weekly. Just hit us up in the DMs, contact us.
Leave a comment down below.
Just let us know. You see the tags down below. Tune in for tomorrow. Stay tuned for the time for the Pick 6 episode. We're back. Football season is right around the corner. So we back with that. And we just appreciate y'all for being here. Continue to like the channel, share the channel, leave comments, and tap in. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir, man. Tomorrow's gonna be great, so we're gonna be talking about some college football as well as giving our AFC East predictions. So stay tuned for that. Fernando, we appreciate you always being a loyal supporter. Thank you for the comments, man. Always showing up.